Hello everybody, this is Dusty Circuit here, and here I am to bring the next episode of my series on my history on ACO. And the previous episode, we talked about the history of Spawn and the ACO's Discord, I believe. And I guess the previous episodes from there, we talked about kind of more about the things that happened in the revival period. But of course, now we're in the kind of the current era of ACO, and we've talked about Spawn in the previous episode, and in this episode, I want to discuss the Netherhub and the shops. So those are kind of the two other big community areas that were also built by the community together. And without further ado, let's just kind of get to talking about the Netherhub. So, ACO's Netherhub, of course, it never used to actually be like this. Of course, back when I joined, I might even put in a picture of this just to show what it looked like, but the Netherhub on ACO when I first had joined was, say it looked a lot more quaint than this hub does, and it was also rather dangerous. It was like open, so if there was any guests in the Nether, you guess who they would be, guess who they would see, and also it was a lot smaller than this Netherhub, and let's just say about the revival period, it had gotten full, and actually Riley kind of addressed the problem temporarily by building a bunch of new portals on the top level. But it was clear that ACO first really needed a new Netherhub badly. And actually, during the revival period, TK Dubsta actually proposed a new Netherhub idea, and And also kind of during the Atlantis, kind of when Atlantis was active, he actually began work on a new Netherhub. And I even remember working on it with him a little bit, but I'm pretty sure, like, so, but it ultimately never got finished, and because, of course, as at the time, like, Autism Father was like, why do we need another Netherhub? Like, we could just fix the current Netherhub. And of course, that was still during the revival period, and also the time when Autism Father was just too. He was just also handling Autcraft, and that was also during the time he wasn't giving ACO a lot of attention. And basically, that project just ended up getting shot down, and it also kind of went away when TK went away from the server. So then, kind of for the next probably 6 months, or probably maybe even more, ACO was still stuck with the existing Netherhub. And of course, so over the years, it got another level added to it, and also the Donster, when he was admin, he had began to renovate the Netherhub and at least make it better. And basically, what he did to it was he built like a big wall around it, just kind of in it, which made it look better on the outside. But basically, he never actually bothered to make the inside of the Netherhub look better. So basically, what happened was there's a lot of places for players to just like fall off the edge, and what happened was players would like fall off and then they'd be trapped like inside the huge like void that's like in between the sort of the outer wall that the Donster had built and like the actual Netherhub. And it's like players would have to like scaffold out, and there are even some players even built a few things in there, which is kind of funny. And I can't really actually go to the old Netherhub anymore because it's basically it was torn down. It was taken apart, and if I have any pictures of it, I could probably put them in the video. But the old Netherhub no longer exists, kind of unfortunately. But we have this new Netherhub. Why do we still need the old one? So how this current Netherhub kind of came to fruition, or like how it started. Of course, just like ACO, just like ACO's other great community projects, it started out with a meeting, or actually a couple of meetings, or so basically kind of like, so anyway. And the videos by the way, are still up on my channel to this day, but it's basically, we kind of gathered together in the Player of the Month building, and we talked about people, and of course Blue asked us, "Hey, what do you guys want in the new Netherhub?" And you know, and so basically, we as a, us as the community, we've sort of brought up our ideas, and I think the first meeting was we were just conceptualizing the Netherhub design, and then the second meeting we just sort of got together, brought our ideas all together, and at least came up with a concept which we were then to build, which we were then to mock up on a plot that Blue had put together for the community to mock up the Netherhub. And it was actually like 9 plots all merged together in a 3x3 formation. And so it's like we would definitely have enough room to actually build the Netherhub. And basically, I'd say it probably took the community probably a couple weeks to throw together the design that we're currently looking at right now, and probably took around a month to actually complete it to the point where we're ready to have it built on ACO. And basically, this, of course, this is the area the Netherhub was built in. And at first, it was mostly just like an empty area, like there really wasn't much here, and the only terraforming, at least from what I've heard, that was needed was just to flatten out the area. This was already mostly open, and basically, and I actually was the one to actually get the project started. So what happened was is that of course, I went on to the creative worlds, and wait, let's sort of go back for a second. So also, when we actually were building this Netherhub on creative, there even was this one day in which a lot of us were joined a Discord call, and while we were on the call, we were basically we were just kind of building the whole Netherhub, and so just kind of it started with like one player. They sort of started building the whole design, but of course as time went on, other players joined, and then we had that one big group call in which probably 10 players or more were together, and we were all building it. And we just sort of ended up with this final design. And in the beginning, we actually had several players submit their ideas for a new Netherhub design, and we sort of just like this went with this design, which basically kind of took inspiration from all of those other designs, and which I think probably 4 or 5 players submitted designs. And so just kind of how this was built on ACO. I actually went on to the creative world, and basically what I had created a schematic that basically I made the schematic for this whole Netherhub using the Lightmatica mod. And of course, Blue was sort of counting on me to actually start building it because she knows that I have the schematic. And then basically, and then it's like everyone was sort of waiting on me to get it built. So they're like, "Hey, Dusty, what's up? Could you get this started?" And then, and then I sort of was like, "Okay, sure, I'll start building it." And then basically what happened was I went to this area we're staring at right now. I placed the schematic, and then I started building the first floor. And I probably spent the whole day just building like. So anyway, I had basically I think I built this the first level in probably around 6 to 8 hours. I spent building it, and I think I even did a little bit of the second floor, and then I guess I just sort of took a break from the project, and then sure enough, before I even could get to finishing it, other players jumped on it, and before we knew it, we had a new Nether hub built already, and of course then Blue had proceeded to move portals over to it, and it actually took a little bit of time for us to transition over to using the new Nether hub, and also Blue had sort of come up with a new way of doing our portals, and that basically each player would they go through their portal, and then that takes them to a separate portal room where they could have up to 10 portals in, but just recently that was increased to 12 portals. And it's like every player would get their basically a box of a room made of bedrock, in which they get to design their own portal room in. But there was a bit of a caveat where Blue said she was not going to move the entryway portal. And it just so happened that all the boxes were made so that portal was like one block off center. And I guess some players just kind of roll with it, but other players actually just kind of built like over the bedrock and just made the room look as if it was centered, even though it isn't. And I was one of the players to actually do that. I basically, how I made my portal room was I basically, like I sort of built the room a bit smaller than the actual bedrock box. And I built it as if it were centered with the portal, and it's just on one side it's a 2 block gap, and on one side it's a 1 block gap. And that's just kind of how I did it. But other players kind of made it work in their own ways. And since it was last built, I think a little like I think this originally was 10 portals. So, well, basically this Nether hub, since it was built, it got a bit of expansion. So it's as ACO had been growing, we've kind of been running out of space for new portals as new players were joining the server, and sort of as a stopgap measure for until the next addition, major addition to the Netherhub. We basically these hallways were expanded by a few portals, and so it's like I think each hallway had 4 additional portals added to it, or something or like that. So anyway, this sort of brings us to how the Netherhub is currently, and so basically this kind of central portion of the Netherhub is it's kind of been the center of a lot of different events on ACO, and of course right now this is where the ACO mascot currently lives, and kind of a funny story on that one. It's like there was this one day, I believe it was Mr. Obby Mange, like there was just I think there was probably a magma cube in the like I think it spawned in the Nether Hub, and I guess he decided to put a name tag, and that became the ACO mascot. And for basically for the past several months, it lived in that cage up there. But they ran into the problem where basically he would just glitch through the bottom of it, and then he would be loose in the Nether Hub. And of course, for players, we kept putting him back up there, but the problem kept happening. So we kind of ended up with just putting him below here, and that's where he stayed for the most part. And it's probably where he will be for the foreseeable future. So far, it seems to be holding him pretty well. And of course, I think there's some other players that also had pets, and their portal rooms have also had that happen. But, so anyway, when I designed my portal room, it kind of, like at first, I designed it in such where the entry portal was up here, and the staircase part wasn't here, but that was before I learned about the limitation where Blue was not going to move any of these portals for the entryway. And let's just say I had a bit of a meltdown over that, but then eventually I just redesigned it around that limitation, and this is the portal room I kind of ended up having. And really my goal of it was just to more or less like just kind of come up with a portal room design that's kind of shows like off like that just not only represents me as a player, but it's also a very functional portal room. And of course I have my mailbox here, and I've got my ender chests, and And I also got crafting in here and looms, and also recently added these smithing tables when 1.16 rolled around, and I've actually used these to make all of my netherite gear so far. And of course, most of these portals are like basically all of these kind of go to like older areas, and some of these go to personal farms, and like this is my main base here, and this is my XP farm once it loads in. That's so weird. Why is it do that? So anyway, of course I have my XP farm here, which is like one of my oldest builds on the server. Well, anyway, since we're here, I guess I could tell you the story about this one. I'm not sure if I've done this already, but basically, like, Colgutton, like, was sort of like, this was back when me and Colgutton were playing on ACO during the silent period. And he had discovered, I kid you not, but he had discovered 3 dungeons within this whole area. And of course, naturally, I wanted to convert this into a farm. And that's what I did. And I just, at the time, I wasn't even sure how to build it. And I just kind of went with this design that you see here. That's just kind of a boring box. That's kind of looks a lot like how I used to build when I first joined Autcraft. And this tunnel went to a squid farm that's no longer in use, but Colgutton actually designed this in a creative world, and I built this on the server, and I really would like for this to serve another purpose, and that was from one of Void's pranks, but I never cleaned it up. So basically, that's just kind of where this build stands as of right now. And anyway, this is currently where the Netherhub stands as of right now. And also, of course, if you couldn't tell, this was done by the admins to kind of bring the new biomes to the Netherhub. And of course, this area is not for resource collecting. It is just for like decoration. And there actually is a portal in the Netherhub that was meant for the that was meant for basically being the Nether resource world, if you could call it that. Which is basically this portal right here. But you basically have to kind of leave the spawn area before you actually are free to gather resources. And I'm not quite sure where this tunnel goes to, but I'm a bit curious, so I guess let's follow it. So this is kind of where the Netherhub sits as of today, and for the future, we're planning on there's plans to expand the Netherhub, most likely by adding more floors to it, because you could also add on to the hallways, but making the hallways like twice as long as they were isn't exactly the most popular plan. And basically, that's just the lesser of the evils is just to add more floors. And that's basically kind of all I have to say about the Netherhub. And anyway, this brings us to the mall. And so, I guess before we talk about this, I thought I'd just kind of talk about how the shops on ACO and also the history of that. And I may also put in some a picture or some footage of what the old shop area looked like. But back when Atlantis was still open, of course the shops was still relatively new. Like having a community shop area to begin with was relatively new to the server at the time. And so Blue and BB had actually decided on repurposing a mushroom island that I think BB had owned originally to basically use as the shop area for ACO. And it was kind of divided up into a bunch of different plots, and each player would get to have at least one plot, but I think some players owned more than one plot. And I think kind of the sort of the rule with that was each player could build within the plots, and I think there was like a height limit, I think, of probably 16 blocks or something. And of course, I was one of the first actually to build a shop there. And I still actually have a video on my channel about which is more of a commercial. Of course, all of us were urged to advertise our shops somehow, and those of us who do YouTube videos need to even do commercials and upload them to our YouTube channel. And that's basically what I did with my shop, and I'm also a bit late to do one for my existing shop right now. And of course, in that video, I sort of showed what the old shop area looked like and what my old shop looked like. And then but of course, as ACO had been growing, naturally they've been outgrowing that area as well. So we desperately needed some kind of a new shop area, and of course, just like with the Netherhub, we the community discussed what we were to do with the shops, as a big group in a meeting, which is basically like another big Discord call where we discuss what we would want to do with the shop area, and basically a lot of us kind of eventually just decided on building a mall, and where we're each of our there we would have this basically we would be like the Nether Hub, where we would have the lobby and each of the four wings, but of course rather than portals it would be there'd be shops in each of the areas. And much like the Nether Hub, we also decided on a color coding system, which is very, of course, probably a lifesaver for a lot of people who, or a lot of players, say like if they chose the very last area, and yeah, and this was kind of when this mall was built. Uh, like I did want to kind of help with the project, but at the time I was sort of dealing with a bit of some other projects, and I didn't really get to do too much, and also kind of towards the end of the project, Ragnar was sort of the leader of the project, much like Tully was the leader of Spawn. But by the end of it, I did ask him if he would give me the schematic, and then of course what ended up happening was, since most of the mall was actually complete already, I was like given the task of building the whole, like all these pathways that were like on the outside of the mall. And it took me probably a couple of days, but eventually I did get these paths done, and I think I made the trees as well. But I think someone else chipped in and also added these other areas outside the mall. And then when the time came to build my shop, I was kind of left without, I was a little bit lost as for how I was going to build it, because I was just kind of hoping that through some miracle that I would be allowed to build like a redstone underneath the floor, because like I wanted to have of course, much like my old shop, I still really wanted to have the firework dispenser. So, and I wanted to have other sort of like I wanted to have like the whole redstone dispensing thing for my other items as well. But of course, the rule is you can't go outside the box, and so. But actually, what ended up happening was, of course, Mod Killer should have, being one of my oldest friends on Autcraft, he had helped me come up with with my shop. And basically, me and him together designed this kind of what I'm standing in right now. And then I sort of delocated this area here to put all the redstone for the firework dispenser. And let's say I probably spent an entire afternoon just designing what you're looking at right now. And it's like I just needed to somehow like cram basically all the redstone that from my other shop into just this space. And of course I managed to do it, but let's just say I kind of don't have much other room to spare. And of course I also managed to fit in these lamps which turn on when the fireworks, any of the chests for the fireworks get empty. And also for my, this is sort of like my version of Mumbo Jumbo's Redstone Consultancy, where basically players would basically, if they ever want me to build redstone for them in their base or whatever, they take one of these book and quills and then like basically put in what, like submit what they wanted me to build, and then that would go, and then they put it in here, and then these lamps would turn on, and that would let me know that I have a submission waiting. And perhaps after this video, I might even make my commercial for my shop finally. And so I guess other than that, it's really not all that much really to talk about. And another rule, unfortunately, is players are not allowed to have more than one like stall, and which might potentially limit my capabilities in the near future. But basically, what I'm targeting with my shop is basically what things I can produce the most easily and also make the most profit from. But I kind of talked about this in a previous video, but my shop isn't. I don't really like. I'm not in it for the money, per se. I'm in it mostly more really for the sake of providing a service to the community. And I mean, I could set my prices a lot lower than they are, but the prices in my shop are more a metering method to prevent one player from buying out all my stock than for say like because I want to make money per se. And my shop has been doing quite well, and basically just over the past month I've probably gotten like almost a stack of emerald blocks from it, which is just insane. And my previous shop, I have made about like 90% of my diamonds that I currently have actually came from my shop, and by now I probably have 7-8 stacks of diamond blocks, which is that has to be the most diamonds I've had in survival mode, period. Though maybe in modded I may have had more than that, but in vanilla Minecraft, that's like even more than I've had in any single player world, and I think also even more than I've had on Autcraft. So yeah. But it just so happens, most of my customers pay me in emeralds, and it's like basically, I actually make enough emeralds that I could actually buy from other shops using the profits from my own shop, which is pretty cool. Although most of my items come from my own farms or from the community farms. But perhaps in the near future, I am looking to utilize the shop area more. It is such a great, one of the great perks of ACO. And so this video is kind of running on pretty long, and so I'd like to kind of end it off here, and that ACO really is a different server now, just from what it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's just insane. And so anyway, thank you all for watching the video, and remember to rate, comment, like, and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next content. And this is Dusty Circuit signing off. Peace out.